Your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald. Today, we shift lanes into the fast-changing world of diplomacy. Canada, led by Prime Minister Mark Carney, is steering away from U.S. dependency and accelerating toward European alliances. His recent meetings with Macron and Starmer hint at a bold strategic overhaul, one that could transform trade, defense, and foreign policy. Why is Canada changing gears now, and what does it mean for its partnership with the U.S.? Buckle up. We're diving into the turning points that could redefine North American relations. Number 1. Recalculating the route. Why Canada is questioning its U.S. loyalty. For decades, Canada and the U.S. have been like a perfectly tuned V8, running in sync through trade deals, defense partnerships, and shared strategy. But lately, that engine's misfiring. The first real knock came when President Trump, post-re-election, slapped fresh tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminum, and, here's the kicker, auto parts. That move didn't just dent Canada's economy, it rattled Ottawa to its core. Enter Prime Minister Mark Carney, not your average political figure. The man has a financial resume that reads like a supercar's spec sheet. Former Bank of Canada chief, head of the Bank of England, and now, the driver behind Canada's foreign policy shift. He saw the writing on the wall. The U.S. could no longer be Canada's only road forward. When Carney looked at the rising costs and trade restrictions caused by American policy, he did what any seasoned driver would do in gridlock, found an alternate route. Instead of tailgating behind U.S. interests, Canada would start forging its own path, one that pointed toward Europe and Asia. And his first international stop? Not Washington. He hit Paris and London instead. It wasn't just symbolic. It was strategic. The message? Canada's tired of being the sidecar in America's foreign policy ride. It's time for a new engine under the hood. But trade isn't the only component getting an overhaul. Canada's economic engine is being rewired for a whole new road ahead. Number 2. Rewiring trade. Building a new economic engine with Europe. Carney's meetings with French President Emmanuel Macron and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer weren't just photo ops. They were blueprint sessions for a retooled economic future. In Paris, the discussions revved around deeper cooperation in energy, tech, and defense. Macron offered to set up joint task forces, signaling that France sees Canada not as a junior partner, but as an equal on the world stage. Then in London, Carney reconnected with former Bank of England colleagues to explore how Canada and the UK could shift their financial gears together. With Britain navigating post-Brexit terrain, both nations see a chance to co-author new trade agreements, and maybe even sync up on defense strategies. And here's where the numbers get serious. Over 75% of Canadian exports currently roll straight to the US. That's a level of dependence that makes any trade spat a 5-alarm fire. By diversifying toward Europe and Asia, Carney is aiming to reduce that risk, even if it means risking Washington's wrath. But in true gearhead fashion, sometimes you've got to tune your ride for the long haul, not just the drag strip. Before we delve deeper, we'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support fuels our passion to create more content like this. Speaking of long-term strategy, let's turn to Canada's defense overhaul and why one fighter jet might just be the spark behind a diplomatic wildfire. Number 3. Defense decoupling. The F-35 kill switch sparks uproar. Canada's pivot isn't just about trade. It's about taking the wheel in defense too. And the F-35 fighter jet? It's become the hottest topic in the hangar. For years, Canada's been locked into the US-led F-35 program. But whispers of a kill switch, a secret software backdoor that could let the US ground the jets remotely, have sent alarm bells through Ottawa. Imagine investing billions into a fleet you don't truly control. That's like buying a track day monster only to discover the dealership can shut off the engine mid-lap. Carney isn't taking that chance. He's opened the door to European alternatives, next-gen fighters from German and French firms that offer full operational control. It's a bold move, but one that's consistent with his broader philosophy. Canada won't be anyone's passenger when it comes to national sovereignty. Washington's reply has been cautiously firm. U.S. officials warn that pulling out of the F-35 project could sideline Canada in future NATO missions. But Carney's camp is standing their ground, insisting that real defense means owning the key to your own ignition. And while control of the skies is critical, Carney's next battle is brewing where the ice meets ambition, in the Arctic. Number 4. Reclaiming the North. Canada's Arctic challenge to the U.S. One of the frostiest fronts in U.S.-Canada relations isn't in Washington or Ottawa, it's in the Arctic. As the ice melts and new shipping lanes and untapped resources emerge, territorial tensions are heating up fast. The US sees much of the Arctic as international waters, but Canada? Under Prime Minister Mark Carney's leadership, it's drawing bold lines in the snow, claiming these regions as sovereign territory. And this isn't just diplomatic chatter. Canada is bolstering its Arctic presence with military outposts, surveillance systems, and increased patrols. Here's where Europe enters the frame again. Britain, Germany, and France have all signaled support for Canada's Arctic claims. They've even suggested backing Canada's push at the international level, a rare show of solidarity that reinforces Carney's strategic gamble, building alliances that elevate Canada's stance beyond its longtime reliance on the US. The message is clear. Canada's tired of being in the passenger seat. It wants control of the wheel when it comes to northern security and sovereignty. But asserting control up north isn't the end of the journey. There's a brewing trade storm heading straight for Canada's economy. Number 5. Trade turbulence ahead, US retaliation and Canada's response. Carney's diplomatic maneuvering hasn't gone unnoticed south of the border. Washington is already rattling its sabers, threatening to roll out fresh tariffs on Canadian goods, from agri-products to auto components. If these threats rev into action, we're not just talking fender benders, we could be heading for a full-blown economic collision. But Carney's crew isn't slamming the brakes. Instead, they're shifting gears, accelerating trade talks with the EU and pivoting toward Asia. Preliminary deals with Europe on agriculture and energy exports are already gaining traction, giving Canada a buffer if US access tightens. And get this, public sentiment in Canada is shifting too. More and more citizens are backing the move to reduce dependency on the US. The idea of a Canada that charts its own global course is gaining ground. Still, the risks remain. If the US cranks up tariffs, the shockwaves will hit Canadian manufacturers and farmers hard. Carney's team believes the long-term payoff of diversification will outweigh the immediate bumps in the road. But just like tuning a high-performance engine, it all depends on how precisely the pieces come together. Pushing forward, will Canada's new path pay off? Carney's diplomatic recalibration, from Washington to Westminster, is nothing short of bold. Shaking hands with Macron and Starmer instead of Trump sends a powerful message. Canada wants to be more than a junior partner. It wants autonomy, influence, and most of all, respect. Whether it's the F-35 kill switch dilemma or Arctic dominance, the underlying theme is the same. Canada wants full control over its future, in defense, diplomacy, and trade. And with Europe ready to collaborate, that vision may no longer be just a dream. But big shifts come with big questions. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think Canada is making the right call by distancing itself from US influence? Will Carney's European alliances bring more stability or stir up new conflicts? Could leaving the F-35 program actually strengthen Canada's defense independence? How should Canada navigate a potential trade war with the US? And finally, should other countries be inspired by Canada's assertive new foreign policy approach? Let us know your take in the comments. Your perspective fuels this conversation. And before you head out, don't forget to subscribe to Highway Herald and tap the bell icon so you never miss a beat in the fast lane of global vehicle and policy shifts. Thanks for watching and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.